I've been hearing a lot lately these calls for people to tax the rich as a solution to our economic woes or the government budget problems. Well, after all the rhetoric I've been inundated with, I think it's time to inject some hard data into the discussion, which no one else seems to want to do. I'll be dealing with two claims here. One is that the economy is better when the tax rate on the rich is higher, and it's usually in the 1950s that people point to a period of prosperity where the rich were taxed 90%. And the other day I heard someone make the same claim about the 90s. The other claim is that if we tax the rich, we'll get in the revenues to make up for all these budget shortfalls. And of course, it was Bush's tax cuts that got us into this mess, which I've already shown in a previous video just isn't true. But we'll look at this claim that taxing the rich will give us much greater revenues. I've put it all in this graph. The orange parts in the background represent recession years, starting at 1913 because that's when the income tax began and we're looking at taxes on the rich. So you've got a few recessions after World War I and on through the 20s, and then you have the Great Depression, which is the longest recession. Actually, it shows up in the statistics as a bunch of recessions jammed together. I've just made it all one thing here. Then you have World War II, which I separated out here to show you the length of that, and you can see from the orange area on the end, our current economic downturn, this the one we're in now, it's the third longest since the income tax was levied, rivaled only by World War II, which we're fast approaching, and the Great Depression. And then you have other recessions scattered here and there. One thing you'll notice is that during the recessions where government took a hands-off approach, the recession wasn't that bad. It didn't last that long. Although I should probably point out that the way I created this graph, I just listed the recession years. I just got a list of the years that we were in a recession. So if a recession lasts 1 year, but it lasts from July of one year to July of the next year, it shows up here as 2 years. Nothing I could do about that, sorry. But get these nice thin little lines for those recessions, and thicker lines for ones where the government tried to step in and fix things, which I think is the first important lesson to take from this. But anyway, on to the data. The blue line, the one higher up, is the tax rate on the highest income earners. In other words, how much the rich are taxed. You'll notice that the top tax rate started out very low, but it didn't take it very long to jump up to around 80%, whereupon we promptly had a recession and it went down again. And it kept going down through the 20s and then up during the Great Depression. It stayed up during the prosperity of the 50s, went down during the prosperity of the 60s, way down during the prosperity of the 80s, and even in the 90s it was just under 40%. And we see it go up in recessions, go down during recessions. There's just no pattern there at all. So this idea of taxing the rich leading to prosperity, it isn't even a correlation-causation fallacy because you don't even have a correlation there. The only conclusion I think we can draw from these data is that there's no relationship at all one way or the other between taxes on the rich and cycles of economic prosperity and recession. The myriad causes of the business cycle, from interest rates to credit expansion, to inflation, to government regulations, to monetary policy, all overwhelm whatever effect these taxes may have. And so the bottom line is you cannot drive in a period of prosperity by taxing the rich more. If you could, we'd have been out of the Great Depression in 1932. The green line, the one along the bottom, is income tax revenues as a percentage of GDP. Now, I want to be clear, once again, we're only looking at income tax since we're studying the effects of taxing the highest earners. If we had included revenues from other sources, the line would be higher up, but it would also be misleading. So the claim is we can get more revenues in by taxing the rich. Well, to begin with, it looks like this is exactly what happens. There's a surge in revenues in the late teens, early 20s to match a surge in the tax rate as our government paid debts incurred during World War I and also helped bail out the UK, and then it went down again. But notice it didn't go up again during the Great Depression. That didn't happen until World War II, when production for items for the war effort skyrocketed. And after that, it seems like revenues have hit something of a plateau. Although we had an initial surge up to 16%, it seems to more or less level off at around 11 to 13%. Occasionally you get it rising above or falling below those levels, but it doesn't last. It seems like no matter what you do, you cannot get sustained revenues beyond about 13%. Once again, we see by the data that taxing the rich just will not help here. Maybe it would raise revenues if the revenues were less than 1% of GDP as they were at the beginning, but according to this graph, if it's more than a few percent, there's diminishing returns and we lose all correlation between the tax levels on the rich and revenues as a proportion of GDP. Raising taxes on the rich will do nothing to improve the budget situation. So how do we fix our problems? Well, it's spending, stupid. It's time to shake off this bogus class warfare and focus our energies on doing what really needs to be done to improve the situation in this country for everybody. And that's to rein in this greedy, insane, and out of control government.